In the sprawling sands of the Sahara, where the sun blazed with unrelenting intensity, there lived a queen whose wisdom and courage were as vast as the desert itself. Her name was Tin Hinan, and she was more than a leader. She was a pioneer. Known as the mother of the Tuareg, Tin Hinan guided her people not only with her heart, but also with her mind, blending ancient traditions with futuristic innovations. Her greatest invention, solar-powered hovercrafts that floated effortlessly over the dunes, shimmering under the desert sun. These marvels of engineering allowed her people to traverse the Sahara, carrying water, food, and hope to distant communities. But even the most advanced technology couldn't tame the unpredictability of the desert. The caravan glided over the dunes like a school of metallic fish swimming through golden waves. The hovercrafts hummed gently, their solar panels glinting in the sunlight. At the helm of the lead craft stood Tin Hinan, her flowing indigo robes fluttering in the warm breeze. Beside her floated AI Al-Qamar, a spherical AI assistant that projected glowing blue symbols into the air. Tin Hinan's presence radiated calm authority as she navigated the lead hovercraft with precision. She glanced back often, not just to monitor the caravan's progress, but to catch glimpses of her people. Behind her, families sat snugly in their crafts, some sharing stories, others humming melodies that blended with the hum of the engines. "Your Majesty," Al-Qamar said, its voice smooth and theatrical, "the horizon beckons, a canvas waiting for your brushstroke of destiny." Tin Hinan raised an eyebrow. "Al-Qamar, can you speak plainly for once?" "Certainly," the AI replied. "The path ahead is clear, with a 90% chance of smooth travel and a 10% chance of poetic reflection." Behind her, Omar, a wiry young inventor with an ever-present smirk, adjusted a console on his hovercraft. "I've added a feature that autoplays Tuareg folk music when the crafts reach peak speed," he announced proudly. The sound of rhythmic drumming suddenly erupted, startling the nearby camels tethered to the supply craft. They brayed in protest, causing the villagers to laugh and shake their heads. Tin Hinan sighed. "Omar, must every upgrade cause chaos?" "Chaos," Omar replied with a grin, "is the mother of innovation." Tin Hinan smiled despite herself, her gaze returning to the endless dunes ahead. She addressed the group over the caravan's intercom. "Remember, the desert is vast, but our unity makes it manageable. Trust in each other and we'll make it to the Oasis." As the hovercrafts moved forward, the youngest members of the caravan took turns pointing at mirages that shimmered on the horizon. "Is that water?" one of them asked, his wide eyes filled with hope. "Not yet," his mother replied, ruffling his hair, "but soon." Elders seated in the rear hovercraft shared quiet words of encouragement, their wisdom grounding the caravan. Meanwhile, a group of teenagers took responsibility for monitoring the supply crafts, ensuring nothing was lost to the shifting sands. "Your leadership inspires them," Al-Qamar said quietly to Tin Hinan. "It's their spirit that inspires me," she replied. "This journey is not just about reaching a destination. It's about who we become along the way." The caravan pressed on, a shimmering beacon of determination in the ever-changing landscape of the Sahara. The caravan glided over the dunes like a school of metallic fish swimming through golden waves. The hovercrafts hummed gently, their solar panels glinting in the sunlight. At the helm of the lead craft stood Tin Hinan, her flowing indigo robes fluttering in the warm breeze. Beside her floated AI Al-Qamar, a spherical AI assistant that projected glowing blue symbols into the air. "Your Majesty," Al-Qamar said, its voice smooth and theatrical, "the horizon beckons, a canvas waiting for your brushstroke of destiny." Tin Hinan raised an eyebrow. Al-Kamar, can you speak plainly for once? Certainly, the AI replied. The path ahead is clear, with a 90% chance of smooth travel and a 10% chance of poetic reflection. Behind her, Omar, a wiry young inventor with an ever-present smirk, adjusted a console on his hovercraft. I've added a feature that autoplays Tuareg folk music when the crafts reach peak speed, he announced proudly. The sound of rhythmic drumming suddenly erupted, startling the nearby camels tethered to the supply craft. They brayed in protest, causing the villagers to laugh and shake their heads. Tin Hinan sighed. Omar, must every upgrade cause chaos? Chaos, Omar replied with a grin, is the mother of innovation. Tin Hinan smiled despite herself, her gaze returning to the endless dunes ahead. Let's hope the desert agrees with you. As the sun reached its zenith, the winds began to shift. Tin Hinan's sharp eyes caught a faint, swirling haze on the horizon. Her breath stilled for a moment as she scanned the vast dunes. She tapped the console of her hovercraft with urgency. Al-Kamar, report. The dance of the desert has begun, Al-Kamar intoned, its voice as smooth as the winds that now carried sand into the air. A sandstorm approaches from the northwest. Estimated time of arrival, 30 minutes. Everyone prepare for a storm, Tin Hinan called out, her voice carrying over the hum of the hovercrafts like a steady drumbeat in chaos. The villagers sprang into action. Mothers hurried to secure their children inside the crafts, their voices calm but tinged with urgency. Fathers tightened the canopies, their hands moving swiftly, though their eyes darted nervously toward the growing haze. The younger men and women formed quick teams, checking supply lines and tethering the camels to reinforced poles. Mama, is the desert angry? A small child whispered, clutching her mother's robe. No, my little star, the mother replied, her voice soothing. The desert is simply testing us, and we will pass its test together. Omar, ever the problem solver, frantically typed commands into his tablet. I can boost the hover engines to outrun it, he suggested, his voice laced with the excitement of a challenge. No, Tin Hinan said firmly, her tone cutting through the rising anxiety. We'll conserve energy and find shelter. Speeding blindly could scatter the caravan. Al-Kamar, always eager to contribute, chimed in, perhaps a Shakespearean quote for guidance. The tempest doth rage, but steadfast hearts prevail. Tin Hinan rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress a small smile. Not helpful, Al-Kamar. Save the poetry for calmer days. As the swirling haze grew closer, the atmosphere shifted. The hum of hovercrafts felt muted against the oppressive weight of the storm's approach. Children clung to their parents, wide-eyed and whispering questions. Elders whispered prayers under their breath, their hands gripping the sides of the crafts for support. A boy, no older than 10, clambered onto his family's craft with an air of exaggerated bravery. I'll guard the supplies from the storm, he declared, holding a stick as though it were a sword. His father chuckled and ruffled his hair. Guard us well, my warrior. In contrast, the camels brayed loudly, their discomfort evident as the winds picked up speed. Omar, Tin Hinan called, can you stabilize the supply craft? On it, he replied, his fingers flying across his tablet. Moments later, the craft's stabilizers hummed to life, quieting the camels slightly. The storm loomed ever closer, a wall of swirling sand blotting out the horizon. Tin Hinan's voice rang out again. Stay close, everyone. Trust your neighbors. We will face this together. For a moment there was silence among the people, a collective deep breath before the storm's fury descended upon them. As the sun reached its zenith, the winds began to shift. Tin Hinan's sharp eyes caught a faint swirling haze on the horizon. She tapped the console of her hovercraft. Al-Kamar, report. Ah, the dance of the desert has begun, Al-Kamar intoned. A sandstorm approaches from the northwest. Estimated time of arrival, 30 minutes. Everyone prepare for a storm, Tin Hinan called out, her voice carrying over the hum of the hovercrafts. Villagers sprang into action, securing supplies and tightening the canopies on their crafts. Omar frantically typed commands into his tablet. I can boost the hover engines to outrun it, he suggested. No, Tin Hinan said firmly. We'll conserve energy and find shelter. Speeding blindly could scatter the caravan. Al-Kamar chimed in. Perhaps a Shakespearean quote for guidance. The tempest doth rage, but steadfast hearts prevail. Tin Hinan rolled her eyes. Not helpful, Al-Kamar. The villagers worked quickly, double-checking their hovercrafts and gathering close for safety. Children clung to their parents, wide-eyed at the sight of the approaching storm. The storm hit with a ferocity that rattled even the sturdy hovercrafts. Visibility dropped to zero as sand swirled around them like an angry sea. Tin Hinan's voice cut through the chaos. Follow me! There's an ancient canyon nearby. Its walls will shield us. Guided by her intimate knowledge of the land, Tin Hinan led the caravan through the blinding storm. Omar's hovercraft sputtered and stalled, forcing him to hitch a ride on the supply craft. Ironic, he muttered. The genius inventor stranded by his own invention. Humility suits you, Omar, Tin Hinan quipped as she pulled him aboard. Next time, prioritize stability over unnecessary flair. They reached the canyon just as the storm's fury peaked. The canyon walls, towering and jagged, created a natural fortress against the raging winds. Once inside, the villagers quickly tethered their hovercrafts and set up temporary shelters. The children, initially frightened, began to relax as their parents busied themselves with practical tasks. Tin Hinan moved through the camp, ensuring everyone was safe. She found a group of elders gathered near a fire pit made from portable heat units. This canyon has saved many before us, one elder said, his voice rich with memory. When I was a boy, my father led us here during a storm just like this. We stayed for 3 days, and the canyon provided for us. Perhaps the canyon itself is a guardian, another elder suggested, sparking murmurs of agreement. Meanwhile, Omar sat with a group of teenagers, animatedly describing his ideas for hovercraft upgrades. Imagine hovercrafts that could fold into compact shelters during storms, he exclaimed. One of the teens, a girl named Layla, smirked. Wouldn't it be easier to just build storm-proof hovercrafts to begin with? Omar feigned mock offense, drawing laughter from the group. The camels, now calm, huddled together near the supply craft. One particularly curious camel nudged Al-Kamar's floating orb, causing the AI to spin erratically. "On hand me, noble beast!" Al-Kamar protested, eliciting giggles from nearby children. Despite the storm's intensity, a sense of camaraderie filled the canyon. Families shared meals, sang songs, and told stories of past desert journeys. Tin Hinan listened as a young boy recounted his dream of becoming an explorer. "The desert is big," he said, his eyes wide. "I want to see all of it, just like you, Queen Tin Hinan." "You will," she replied with a warm smile. "And when you do, remember to respect its power and beauty." As night fell, the winds outside began to wane. The canyon, now a haven of warmth and laughter, felt almost magical. Tin Hinan stood at the canyon's edge, watching the storm subside. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "The desert tests us, but it also teaches us. Together, we endure." The storm hit with a ferocity that rattled even the sturdy hovercrafts. Visibility dropped to zero as sand swirled around them like an angry sea. Tin Hinan's voice cut through the chaos. "Follow me! There's an ancient canyon nearby. Its walls will shield us. Guided by her intimate knowledge of the land, Tin Hinan led the caravan through the blinding storm. Omar's hovercraft sputtered and stalled, forcing him to hitch a ride on the supply craft. Ironic, he muttered. The genius inventor stranded by his own invention. Humility suits you, Omar, Tin Hinan quipped as she pulled him aboard. They reached the canyon just as the storm's fury peaked. The villagers huddled together, their hovercrafts nestled safely between the canyon walls. Tin Hinan moved among her people, offering words of encouragement and checking on the children. Your wisdom saved us again, an elder said, bowing deeply. Wisdom is a gift from the past, Tin Hinan replied, and the past teaches us to endure. As the storm raged on, the caravan faced another challenge. The hovercraft's solar panels, caked with sand, couldn't recharge. Without power, they would be stranded. We need to clean the panels, Omar said, examining the dull, sand-covered surfaces. How? A villager asked. The wind is too strong to step outside. Al-Qamar's orb glowed brightly. Might I suggest an automated solution? I could deploy mini-drones equipped with cleaning brushes. Omar's eyes lit up. I'll program them. No unnecessary upgrades this time, Tin Hinan warned. The drones buzzed into action, scrubbing the panels clean despite the whipping winds. As the solar panels began to gleam again, the hovercrafts hummed back to life. The villagers cheered, their spirits lifted by the small victory. When the storm finally subsided, the caravan emerged from the canyon to a transformed landscape. The sands, smoothed by the storm, sparkled under the morning sun, creating a surreal, glittering expanse. Tin Hinan stood at the forefront, her gaze steady and her voice strong. We move forward, she declared. Together. As the caravan prepared to resume its journey, individuals from every corner of the group stepped forward with contributions. The elders gathered to share their knowledge of desert navigation, marking landmarks that had been uncovered by the storm's winds. A woman named Yasmin, known for her keen eyesight, identified a distant rock formation as a familiar guidepost. This will help us realign our route, Yasmin explained, pointing out faint patterns in the rocks that had once been used by past travelers. The villagers murmured in agreement, grateful for her insight. Meanwhile, the younger children eagerly worked to clean the hovercraft's remaining sand-covered surfaces. Armed with brushes and determination, they turned their task into a game, racing to see who could clear the most panels. I win! Shouted little Amina, holding up her sand-dusted brush triumphantly. The group burst into laughter, as even the camels seemed to approve, braying loudly. Omar, having learned from his earlier mistakes, organized a small team of teenagers to inspect the hovercraft engines. Let's keep these running smoothly, he said, his tone unusually serious. Layla nodded, her deft hands checking stabilizer settings with precision. It's not about adding more features this time, she teased. It's about keeping things simple and functional. Fair point, Omar replied, earning a smile of approval from Tin Hinan. Al-Qamar floated serenely above the scene, its glowing orb projecting soothing blue patterns. A display of teamwork and resilience worthy of the stars, it said, eliciting amused chuckles from the villagers. As the hovercrafts roared to life, the caravan moved forward with renewed energy. The villagers, emboldened by their shared efforts, began to sing a traditional Tuareg song. The melody, haunting and beautiful, carried across the desert, mingling with the hum of the engines. Tin Hinan looked around, pride swelling in her chest. This was more than a journey. It was a testament to the strength of community. Each individual had contributed in their own way, turning a potential disaster into a moment of unity and progress. This is how we endure, she whispered to herself, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Together. When the storm finally subsided, the caravan emerged from the canyon to a transformed landscape. The sands, smoothed by the storm, sparkled under the morning sun. Tin Hinan stood at the forefront, her gaze steady and her voice strong. "We move forward," she declared. "Together." The caravan resumed its journey, but this time the mood was lighter. Children laughed as they rode alongside the hovercrafts, and elders shared stories of past adventures. Omar, humbled by the ordeal, worked diligently to ensure the hovercrafts operated smoothly. Alkamar, floating serenely, offered its thoughts. "The storm tested us, yet here we stand. A tale worth telling, don't you agree, Your Majesty?" "Indeed," Tin Hinan said with a smile, "but let's keep the poetic embellishments to a minimum." As the sun reached its peak, the caravan arrived at their destination, a hidden oasis nestled between towering dunes. The first sight of it was breathtaking. Palm trees with emerald green leaves swayed gently in the warm breeze, casting dancing shadows over crystal-clear pools of water that glinted like precious gems in the sunlight. Tiny streams trickled through the sand, creating soft melodies that mingled with the whispers of the wind. The villagers erupted into cheers, their hardships forgotten in the face of such beauty. Children broke into a sprint, their laughter ringing out as they raced toward the water, splashing and squealing with delight. The camels, previously grumpy from the journey, ambled slowly to the edge of the pools and knelt to drink, their reflections shimmering in the calm water. Omar stood in awe, scratching his head. "I didn't think places like this still existed," he admitted. "It's like walking into a dream." Tin Hinan smiled, watching her people's joy. She turned to Al-Kamar. "What do you think, Al-Kamar?" "Ah, Your Majesty," the AI intoned, its orb glowing brighter. "This is poetry in motion, a testament to nature's artistry. Though I must admit, the camels seem to lack such appreciation." Tin Hinan chuckled, her gaze softening. "Even camels know the value of water." As the villagers began to set up camp, everyone played a part. Yasmin organized a group to collect firewood from the sparse shrubs nearby, while the elders directed the placement of tents. A group of teenagers, including Layla, started a game of crafting intricate designs in the sand near the water, their laughter adding to the festive atmosphere. Omar, humbled but eager to contribute, worked with a few villagers to repair any damage to the hovercrafts from the storm. "No upgrades this time," he promised, earning good-natured ribbing from his helpers. Tin Hinan walked the perimeter of the oasis, taking in the vibrant life surrounding her. Birds with brilliant plumage flitted between the palm trees, their songs a symphony of freedom. Small desert creatures, emboldened by the presence of water, scampered through the underbrush. Even the insects seemed to hum with renewed energy. Standing at the edge of the largest pool, Tin Hinan allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. The journey had tested them all, but it had also revealed their resilience and unity. The oasis was more than a place of rest. It was a reward earned through collaboration and trust. She addressed her people, her voice calm but filled with conviction. "This oasis is not just a sanctuary. It is a reminder of what we can achieve when we trust each other and adapt to challenges. The desert is vast and unyielding, but together we have found life in its heart." Omar stepped forward, a rare seriousness in his usually mischievous expression. "And maybe tone down the upgrades," he added sheepishly, sparking laughter from the crowd. Al-Kamar, ever the dramatist, floated above them and concluded, "A fitting end to our journey, or perhaps a new beginning." As the villagers shared food and stories around a communal fire that evening, Tin Hinan felt a profound sense of peace. The desert stretched endlessly beyond the oasis, mysterious and untamed, but it no longer felt daunting. She knew that with ingenuity, unity, and a touch of humor, they could face whatever lay ahead. As the sun reached its peak, the caravan arrived at their destination, a hidden oasis nestled between towering dunes. Palm trees swayed gently, and crystal-clear water sparkled invitingly. The villagers erupted into cheers, their hardships forgotten in the face of such beauty. Tin Hinan addressed her people. This oasis is not just a place of rest. It is a reminder of what we can achieve when we trust each other and adapt to challenges. Omar stepped forward. And maybe tone down the upgrades, he added sheepishly, earning laughter from the crowd. Al-Qamar concluded, a fitting end to our journey, or perhaps a new beginning? As the villagers set up camp, Tin Hinan took a moment to herself, gazing at the oasis. The desert was vast and unpredictable, but with ingenuity, unity, and a touch of humor, she knew they could conquer it.